All right, my name is Mikael, and I will talk about working agile in a non-agile organization. I will talk about what I see as some kind of conflicts. Sorry, please put the microphone heavy. A conflict in the organization between the development department and the rest of the organization. I will also talk about, oops, wrong button. I will also talk about the evolution of organizations. And then finally, I will talk about some tools or how you can see what kind of organization you're actually working within. So, my goal is to give you an understanding about these challenges, and also, as I said, give you some tools that you can have in the end. So, who am I then? Well, my name is Mikael, or Michael, or Misha, or Miguel, depending on where we are in the world. I come from Sweden. It's like 2 hours with Mao from here. We also happen to have the same colors as Ukraine. Very nice. And I've been working as a developer for more than 20 years. That was the first computer I wrote code on. Monochrome screen. The next version had 16 colors. That was amazing. Then I have actually been a site manager here for a couple of years. And then I have been working as a Scrum Master, a product owner. And now I'm working as an Agile Coach full-time. Is there any direction I should point this at? Oh, no answer. Never mind. So, working agile in a non-agile organization, is that even possible? Throughout my year, almost 30 years, I have constantly seen this conflict between if you're working within R&D and the rest of the organization, that we really don't talk the same language. And I have been interested to know why is it like this. I don't know if some of you have done like this disk analysis where you get the color or major color and so on. I did that several years ago, and then I thought that, yeah, that could perhaps be an answer, but it was not. Then I was wondering, why, when we have this conflict and so on, why does organizations actually want to work agile when they really don't want us, they don't let us work fully agile? Sorry, she hears me anyway, good. And then I was thinking that why does organization wants to work agile when they don't let us do that? And then I was realizing, what is it we actually saying to people when we say that, oh, we should work agile? We say that we're going to have a really high product quality. Everybody wants to have that. We say that we create greater customer satisfaction. Of course, that's a great thing. We say that we have an increased project control. We say that we want to take less risk on projects. And finally, we say that we can faster return on investment. And we know, when we're talking about agile, yeah, we can do that because we are working in small increments and making many deliveries and so on. But organizations really usually don't understand this. And what is the most common failure then? Why do we fail? And these are the 3 most common failures according to some studies. Inadequate experience with agile methods. That means that we, who works within development or in this Scrum team, we don't have enough experience or knowledge about working agile. We just start. And I can say from my own experience, when I started like 15 years ago, we realized that we're going to have morning meetings. That was how we started working Scrum, not really Scrum. We know that now, but then we thought we were really good at it. And we failed, of course. Little understanding of the required broader organizational change. This is very much what I'm going to talk about today. The organization around it doesn't realize that they also have to change to make it a real good agile organization. And that also could be due to the last one. The company philosophy or culture is not the same as the agile culture values. So, why is it like this then? I have found that when we are talking about things, when we are in the IT organization, we work with what I say complex problems. We are good in solving those things. And we are good in communicating and talking to each other and cooperating in a very good way. While the rest of the organization does not really understand what complex problems are. They are used to totally different things. And I found out that like a year ago, I read a book, an illustrated book called Reinventing Organization by Frederick Laloux. And I found that book, it has nothing to do with Agile, but it was really interesting. It talked about organizations. And it was so good, so I actually bought the thick one with 400 pages, only text. And that was what I spent my summer vacation on, reading that one. And that book actually also happens to exist in Russian and also in Ukrainian, and why it has a different cover, I have no clue. This book opened my mind. As I said, it has nothing to do with Agile, but it has to do how organization in general works. And I will take some parts of this book and present it now, and then I will put on my view or Agile view on top of this to see why it could be like this. And this also can give us an understanding that when we are working in an organization of one of these organization models, we can see why those kind of problems that we might see every day actually occurs. So, mankind has been going through certain evolution steps, leaps throughout the history. And we were first hunters and gatherers, and then we started with doing farming, and then come the industrial age, and so on and so on. And through these things we have known for a long time. But what we might not have thought about, which Frederick Laloux writes in the book, is the fact that organizations has evolved at the same time. More than 10,000 years ago, people were living in clans, from a few dozen up to 100 people. And they did not have a clear organization at all. Everybody did everything. They were hunting, they were picking berries and everything like that. And then they had some elders who actually was just talking about that don't do anything new. We know what works. Don't pick any berries. Don't kill any animals we haven't killed before. And if you go too far, it's dangerous. Then around 10,000 years ago, the evolution made a leap here. And up come this impulsive red worldview. And still, the complexity level of the society, they were still hunters and gatherers. But by having a very strong leader, they could actually start to evolve as an organization. And with a strong leader, they actually could grow from maximum 100 to up to 1,000 or even several thousand in the civilization or in the groups. And by having that organization, they were also able to conquer other clans and become bigger in that way. The thing with these strong leaders was that they were very often very brutal. They killed their way to success, so to say. And many times, it's like Game of Thrones, if you have seen that one. They kill each other all the time, and then someone is the one on the top. But they also offered protection to the people that was following them. The thing with this red impulsive organization, they actually came with two really big breakthroughs for the evolution, so to say, and organizations. And the first one was that they have a top-down authority, someone who decided what to do. It might not seem that very attractive nowadays, but it was very good change at that time. And also they have division of labor. Instead of everybody did everything, people started to become specialized. And today we take this for granted, of course. These kind of organizations still exist today. We have it within the mafia, street gangs, but also we could have it in family business, where you have a very strong leader who actually takes all the decisions. It's a very chaotic-based organization. So within war zones and things like that, these kind of organizations usually pops up. So, back to the Agile side now. What has this to do with Agile? Well, if we look at the Agile manifesto, and we can see those things that I guess most of you have read at some point, we can wonder, okay, how good are the red organization if we look at individuals and interaction over process and tools? Not at all. Working software over comprehensive documentation? Not at all. The thing with this organization are they're very, very short-sighted. And we can continue doing this. Customer collaboration. If killing is some kind of collaboration, then yes, but from an Agile point of view, no. And responding to change. They are organizations that actually change quite fast. They adapt, but not in an Agile way. So this organization and Agile does not fit at all. 4,000 years ago came the next big leap in evolution. We started to do farming. And still, the complexity level was quite simple. And what we had here 4,000 years ago is that when we started with this farming and so on, we felt like the old organization, the red organization, it did not work anymore. We needed to create some new kind of organization. And many times when you do a change, you make 180 degrees and make a totally different thing. And that was what happened here. 4,000 years ago, more or less, every religion or everything had a founding religion which made people to believe that there was a God who created everything and you need to follow that God, otherwise you will end up somewhere. And this was an effective way to actually make people follow the lead. And those lead could be like 10 commandments, or it could be other things that made people to follow things here in the society. These societies that was created, these amber organizations, we should be very thankful for those because they have built all the wonders we have in the world, all the big old cities and things like that. These things were not possible to do before these kind of organizations existed. This organization also had some breakthroughs. Replicable process. They were now used to farming, and you know that the seasons and everything, so everything is the same all the time, very stable. And the mindset also was that, okay, everything is replicable, we should not change anything. We do the same thing we have always done. Another thing was the stable organization shot. Instead of killing your way into different positions, or actually into top position, now you could earn your position by working in a way for certain years. Of course, these societies has castes, so to get the higher roles, you need to belong to the higher caste, and the lower roles you can get if you belong to a lower caste. They also, of course, kept this top-down authority and division of labels. This is a totally different kind of organization, but they kept the good things from the red organization. Today we see this within religious organizations, we see this within the army, and we can also see this within governmental or school or things like that. Also labor unions. And this has to do with the mindset. It has not to do with the topic, because the church and a labor union usually have two different kind of goals, what they want to have. But the mindset are like, we know the right thing, and there is only one way to do things right. So how is this then, if you look at it on the Agile manifesto? It is equally bad from an Agile point of view. But of course, this kind of organization is way better than the red organization. But from an Agile point of view, they are equally bad. So then, 300 to 400 years ago, we came to the time of enlightenment. And now the world started to become a little bit more complicated. We had these scientists who actually found out that the world actually worked in a special way. And they started to investigate it even further. And when they were investigating the world further, they also realized that, if we gain more knowledge, we can actually do things. We can actually invent things to make our life better. And we should be really, really thankful for this kind of organization, because this organization is the organization that have given us all the wealth we have today. I mean, the world 300-400 years ago and the world today is a huge difference. You have to go many years back to actually see that having even a slightly similar amount of change. I don't think it's even possible. What we have achieved the last 300-400 years is amazing. It doesn't mean that everything with this kind of organization is good, though. But without this kind of organization, the world wouldn't have looked the way it looks today. So, what kind of breakthroughs did this kind of organization do then? Innovation, the power of innovation, that actually realized that we can actually change the world. While the Amber organization looked at the world like, okay, we don't like changes, we like to keep things as it is. The Orange organization looked a totally different way. What can we do to change things? What can we do to make things better? How can we sell more things? But of course, we want to gain money also. That's a part of the Orange thing. Accountability. In the old days, it was only the manager in top, the Pope or the highest military or whatever, who actually took all decisions. And then people below should just do them. Now with Orange organization, it's still top down, but to actually have this power of innovation, we need to set goals instead. So we set a goal and say, this is where we're going to reach. Now, you guys, girls, you can make sure that this happens. And that was a big change for organization. The last one is the word I hate to say because I always say it wrong. I should see if I can say it. Meritocracy. I think that is how to say that word. And that is the power of changing. Actually, you have the ability, even if you start as a male boy or male girl, you can actually end up as a CEO in the organization. I don't say it happens often, but it's possible. And you can earn your way, you earn your positions, not by years, but what you actually accomplish. And that was a big breakthrough. These kind of organizations is the most common organization. All companies on the stock markets are Orange organization, I would say. Not all, but the absolute majority. All the big brands, Coca-Cola, whatever, all those, they are Orange organization. And even though these organizations are the most common kind of organization today, they are not always that very good, and we will see here now. How does this actually work when it comes to the Agile Manifesto? We have these individuals and interaction over processes and tools, and we have the working software over comprehensive documentation. In that case, they are actually quite good. Because Orange organizations, they have learned that you need to work with people. You need to tap into the people's brain power and so on. Also, working software, that is the way to make money. We need to sell things. That's why we need to have these things. But if we look at the other side here, on the customer collaboration or responding to change, not that good. Orange organization is more about contract negotiation to make sure that you write a really good contract about it. And when it comes to responding to change, they tend to following a plan instead. This was 300 to 400 years ago. Between 200 years ago and 50 years ago, another organization model started to come up, and that was the green worldview, the pluralistic one. They could handle quite complex things, actually. And when I'm talking about complex things, I talk quite a lot about people, actually. And when this organization started like 200 years ago, among one of this kind of organization was the suffragettes, to actually make women have the right to vote. Today, most nations think that that's quite obvious. There are a few still who haven't understood it yet, but most take it for granted. Also, there was another civil rights movement 200 years ago about abolition of the slavery. Today, I think most of us take for granted that we cannot have slaves and so on. I mean, this was a civil rights movement. They had no clear leader and things like that. It was a green organization, and they actually have changed the mentality of almost all people on this planet. That's quite powerful, I would say. The breakthroughs they have, oops, this one does not really want to work with me. Empowerment, making sure that the people who work in the organization actually have the power to take decisions, to actually feel empowered and not feel like they were a slave to work in the office or whatever you were doing. They had a value-driven culture. And now people might think that, but hey, I know a lot of companies who have, okay, rock a road. So they have a value-driven, sorry, rock a road is, by the way, a very good ice cream. They have a value-driven culture, and now you might think that, wait, most organizations I know today have company values and things like that. But the big difference here is that while orange companies might create values that they think that, yeah, it's good to have values, it looks good on our advertisement to say that we have some values we are following and so on. That is more or less some label you just put on because it looks good. While green organization, there they actually create the values from within and they follow those values. The last breakthrough they had was stakeholder value. Orange organization had shareholder value where the goal of the company was to give money to the shareholders. The green organizations start to see the world totally different. They want to see not only shareholders, but also the people that works within a company and also customers and so on. They want to create a fuller picture so that what they deliver are a much better thing or value to all people that are involved. These kind of organizations, they were popular like 200 years ago, and then we didn't hear about this organization. It was civil rights movements. And then like 50 years ago, in the happy 60s or 70s, then actually some organizations started to occur that was business organization. Ben & Jerry's ice cream, I don't know if you know that, very good ice cream. They have a lot of different values, and when it comes to this value-driven and so on, they really have that. They're taking in homeless to help them making some of the things and things like that. They have a totally different philosophy if you compare to the orange one. Southwest Airlines is also a green company, where actually the people that work in that airline have a lot to say about. Also, I would say that most IT or R&D departments, we are actually a green organization. We are an island many times within the company. We many times take decision in consensus, and we work in a such way that I would consider us to be actually a green organization many times. We have values, what we want to do. Sometimes we have, when we're talking about things, everybody that works with Agile, we're talking constantly about the importance of meeting the customer, for example, to deliver the value to the customer. All these things makes us a green organization. The thing here is that just a few minutes ago I said that most organizations are orange. So now you start to see perhaps where I'm going with this talk about Agile versus non-Agile. Many times our organization is a green island in an orange organization, but we come a little bit more to that later on. So how does the Agile Manifesto versus the green organization work? Well, pretty good if you look at the first three ones. It's actually very, very good. And then when it comes to responding to change, it's almost good. And here I actually say almost good because we have this consensus mindset where we should all agree about things. It's good to agree, right? Because if everybody agrees, everybody feels like we're coming along and so on. The problem with agreeing everybody is that many times it takes a long time for us to do that. And that is also the drawback of the green organization when it comes to take decisions. Taking consensus decisions, many times when you have this, you have organizations where you have these leaders that say that they are servant leaders in green organizations. Many times in green organizations they also have it like an upside down pyramid where the leaders are on the bottom and the workers, so to say, are on the top. The problem is that when a decision is not being able to take in consensus, then many times the leaders step in and say, okay, now I decide we do this one. And that is good perhaps from the perspective of taking a decision, but on the other hand, you have broken the contract of empowerment. And then everybody gets sad, and then you are not a happy organization, and yeah, things like that. I'm gonna touch a little bit about an organization model that actually is coming right now. It can handle very complex problems. And in comparison to orange and green, this teal organization sees the orange worldview as very clunky or machinery, because when you see an orange organization, you many times talk about machinery parts and so on. Do you talk about level up or level down in your organization, or cog in the machinery and things like that? That is the normal organizational talk we have today that is very based on the orange worldview, so to say. And teal organization really doesn't see that that is something that they feel is their thing. And when it comes to the green worldview, they don't really like that as well. The green worldview has a metaphor as a family. And as you might know, many families are a little bit dysfunctional. Just go to like big holiday or Christmas dinners or whatever, you will find that there is always some part of the family that's not really, fit in. The teal worldview is looking at things totally different. And they have also breakthroughs. And I will not go into that one, because if I would start to explain that one, you will think it's just mumbo jumbo. It feels like some new age stuff. It is new age in the sense that we actually probably is the future. And the thing here is that there are so many things that are powerful within that. So we can see what breakthroughs the teal organizations have. Self-management, and now you think, but hey, Agile, isn't that about self-management? Yes, it is. Teal organization tap into self-management fully. They don't have a manager at all. No managers. Everybody has the power to take decisions and so on. Evolutionary purpose. Teal organizations have taken this green organization with a value-driven culture a big step longer. Here we're talking about evolutionary purpose. And these kind of organizations, they put up a goal. And that is the main thing. Earning money is important because that could make us reach that goal. So that's always important. But if there comes another company who actually wants to also reach that goal, then you don't see each other as competitors. Then you see us as each other as partners, because together we can reach that goal much faster. So we share company secrets, so to say. We don't have any secrets. And the last one is really, really hard to explain in a few words. The breakthrough of wholeness, where you actually see the full picture. And I will not even try to explain it. It's about getting rid of the ego in our individuals to actually, we are today, all organization models we have so far, from the red and up to orange, but even green, we have favored, we want to have strong leaders usually, preferably a man who can use their voice in a very good way and so on. Here, we talk about, no, we want to have the full society. We want to have the full person as well. I think that this is an organization that will be more and more common in the future. But there exist some companies already today. Birdsurf, for example, is a nursing company, home nursing company in Netherlands. And remember when I say that this organization does not have a manager. is anyone who hasn't known about this company could give me a guess how many people works in that organization? Anyone dare to make a guess? 200, 100? If you half that number, 20,000, then we are actually there. There are 10,000 employees today. 10,000 employees without a manager. And for them it's not strange. This is the way they should work. And everybody is happy. The people that work there are happy. The patients, the people they are meeting in the work, they are happy, much more happy now than when people had this timer to actually have 10 minutes to do it, give a shot or whatever. And the Netherlands state or government are really happy because they save a lot of money. Because people are just healthy, because they have a purpose with how they're working. Another thing that is totally different example is a company in France, Favi. They make. Actually, I don't really know what they make. It's something technical, but it's something for the car. It has something to do with the gearboxes and things like that. And their competitors are mainly in China, because almost all manufacture of these kind of metal parts are made in China nowadays, because it's much easier to produce this in China. So they were facing the problem a couple of years ago. How can they actually solve this? And they changed the organization. So suddenly everybody in the organization had the power to take decisions. And then we didn't have the situation we have in many companies where we have a manager who should try to take decisions about things they have no clue about. Suddenly we tapped into the mind of every individual in the company. And now they are working and they are competing in a very, very good way. They might not compete when it comes to prices, but their customer knows that when they get a shipment, that shipment will work. Every single piece will work. The quality is amazing. And if you have heard about holacracy, that is a framework how to work team. I will not talk more about team. It's a cool thing, it's the future, I believe. If you just hear as little as I told you, it sounds like mumbo jumbo and some kind of things that can never work, but it does actually. So, I think you have guessed how good this one works when it comes to working agile. Yes, full point. This organization of working agile is actually very good matching here now. But okay, but now we know that we are not working in that kind of organization. So why have I tell you this? Well, organizations look like this many times, and even individuals look like this. We might act as, in our work, we might be very orange, how that should work. Then in the afternoon or evenings, we might help a sport club, and then suddenly we are working very green. And then we come home as a parent, and then we suddenly are very amber, because I know what my mom taught me when I was this age, and this is the way we should do things, right? Organizations is actually the same way. As I said, the R&D departments are usually a green island within an orange organization. So this is the way it looks like. And many times, who decides the main color of the organization is usually the CEO. The top person, that philosophy will go down. And since orange is the way, if you go to any business school whatsoever, you learn A to Z how to work in an orange organization. So it's not strange that most of our organizations are orange. So, how do you know what kind of organization you work in? Well, if you would, for example, work in a red organization, you will have a boss that micromanages everything. You're probably afraid of the boss, or uncomfortable when the boss, he or she, come with the instructions and so on. You probably also, if it's a little bit bigger organization, work in small cells without interaction with the others, because information is really need-to-know basis here. And you probably have this moody behavior in the organization. What was good one day is probably terrible the other day. So, if you work in a red organization, what shall you do? You shouldn't be there. You can never ever be happy in this kind of organization. and make sure that you run away as soon as possible. If you go to the other side of the spectrum, if you work in a teal organization, how would you know if you work in a teal organization? First of all, you will know if you work in a teal organization because then you have heard about teal and so on. But in case you haven't heard about teal and working in a teal organization, you would feel that you feel very trusted. You are truly empowered. You feel very safe in this environment. You can tell people whatever is on your mind and no one will judge you. And you will grow as a person. So what shall you do if you're there? Yeah, well, you should just be happy with it. That's perfect. I must say that it might not fit everyone, because if you cannot adapt to this teal mentality and cannot actually trust other people, then you have a problem in this organization, because trust goes both ways. If you cannot trust other people, then of course they will not trust you. But green organization, which I think most of you might be doing when it comes to the R&D team you're working in. The work is like a second family. I think one sign of this is when you see that when people start in the morning and when people left the work. Many times within R&D, they are the one that with the light switch on earliest and with the light switch off latest in the evening. People like to be at work. And they usually they like to work with each other and so on. There are always one or two persons who sit in their own corner, but that's another thing. The managers are servant leaders. They are not demanding things. They are asking, what can I do so that it works better for you guys or girls? I should stop saying guys, by the way. Sorry for that. You take a lot of consensus decisions, lots of meetings where you actually decide what you're going to do and so on. And what can you do if you are in this organization? Well, I think you can stay happy. This is good organization often. You could try to replace consensus with consent decision. That is where you actually feel the thing that, okay, I don't have to agree with this decision fully. I just think that this could actually, it's better than we have today. And you feel consent with that one. If you could start having that as a culture, then you would actually make the bad side of green organization less bad. You can use a conflict handling process. Because with the conflict handling process, instead of trying to build alliances when you have a different opinion, you start to talk to people directly that you doesn't agree with. And if you have taken those two steps, then you can actually try to become teal also. How do you know that you work in an amber organization then? Titles and hierarchy is extremely important. Changes is something that we really not want to have. And things have been working so good for 2,000 years now. Why should we ever change something? There are lots of rules, and it's your responsibility to fit in. And if something bad happens, someone does not fix the dishwasher machine in a good order, then we make a new rule about that one. Planning versus execution. Well, we have some people in the top, they make all the planning, and then it's up to the people down there, those who should do the work, that actually do the execution. And by the way, those workers, they are quite often lazy and dishonest. That's what we in management at least believe. No, you cannot trust them. So therefore we have, of course, command and control to make sure that everybody does their job. And if you're a worker, don't think, oh, nice, I have been talking slower than I thought I should do. Don't think, just do the work. So what shall you do? Well, you could leave, but you could also accept it and not work through Agile. If you try to work Agile, but not perhaps true Agile, you need to have an adaptation layer who talk amber in one direction and then talk probably green in the other direction. So, now comes the orange one. Budget and KPIs are really important here, because that is the way to know how organization really works. Projects, of course we have a lot of projects. Everything can be solved with a project. Innovations, we're doing a lot of innovations. And we usually have this machine lingo, as I said. What shall we do? Well, even here we need to have an adaptation layer. Someone who can speak Orange up and speak the other language down. And you should try to move this adaptation layer more and more up in the organization. I think that it's incredibly important to be transparent. Because by being transparent, you can actually show people the good and the bad things you do. But I think it's even more important to escalate impediments visibly. Because if you don't escalate impediments visibly, but just giving it to the closest manager, then the manager will probably put it on the desk and say, yeah, I will fix it as soon as I got time. And managers don't have time. So instead, make it visible so everybody sees the reason why you cannot deliver in time. Because Orange organizations are very goal-oriented. So if you start making impediments visible, and now I'm even talking about organizational impediments, then you will make it so visible that they try to avoid those things because they will start understanding. Because Orange organization, they are not stupid. It's just that they are used to a different kind of world when it was complicated and not complex. Try to make other departments agile. Start to give in to other departments, learn them, give them a Kanban board or other things like that, if it's like the marketing department or whatever. And then try to understand how Orange organization works. Because by understanding what drives them, you can start making sure that the world you present, which is a totally different world, but you can present it in a way that they understand it. And then, as I say, management have always a lot of things on their desk. Try to take the workload off them by starting to say, but that is decisions that we can take and make much better than you. And then you start to take the power from them. But you need to do it in a transparent way so they feel safe doing that. So this is more or less what I wanted to say, and we don't have that many minutes left now. So any questions before I just summarize this? Tools. This is the tools, actually, how you do it. I can't give you a wrench or something like that. The tools here is that you need to make, the best tools is to be transparent. That is the best tool I can say. Not good enough. No, I see that. Not good enough. Any other questions? Or if you want to talk about organizations and so on later on, we can probably do that because I think it's not many minutes left now. We have a clockmeister somewhere who say that it can be 2 minutes left. All right. I will just quickly summarize things then. Evolution can explain why organizations look the way they do. They are all good, actually, in their own natural habitat. But Agile might not be something that is their natural habitat. And we have to understand this. And that is important, because otherwise we will... Yeah, I shouldn't move this one, sorry. Some organizations are great for Agile, like teal and green, I would say. Teal is superb and green is really good. Others requires a lot of work. And in that case, when it comes to require a lot of work, I would say be transparent to gain understanding. That is the most important thing, and especially with organizational impediments. So my goals was this, give an understanding about what I say challenges we face. I hope you have got better understanding, and hopefully give you some tools to change the situation. You are a little bit hesitating about that one. All right. I can say this, if I had the perfect tool, I would be a millionaire. So, that's it. Thank you.